Dear passengers, our next stop is Berlin. We will arrive there in 20 minutes. Exit is on the right. I hope you had a good ride with Lego City trains and thank you for traveling with Lego Bahn. We wish you well on your further travels.
I'm awake. I'm awake.
Yesterday evening a train crashed into a tree which has fallen on the tracks. Only 5 people got lightly injured. This all could have looked pretty different if it wasn't for the early warning system which was only recently installed in some trains throughout the region. Today we've got a special guest in our studio. He's part of the team which developed that system. Please welcome Rick Rickson in our studio. Welcome, Rick.
Thanks for having me.
So, as you already know, we've invited you here today to give us some insights about the project you were involved in. To kick things off, our team has prepared a little video to give the viewer an idea how your system works.
This device is called Juridical Recording Unit, similar to a black box in flights. It has very detailed data about train movements and status to investigate accidents and maintain the train. It is resilient to crashes and protected against fire, magnetic fields and liquids. Data storage is provided in flash memory and can be overwritten. That is why a train operator needs to regularly load and unload the event recorder to extract the data. However, this device is centralized and can be damaged, and the data can be manipulated. This is why our project targets to distribute the data logging using blockchain technology. Our project consists of 4 main components: collecting data via sensors, the agreement process by Themis, data transmission by a blockchain, and an user interface. Our system consists of many microcomputers called Raspberry Pis, distributed over 2 trains. They measure train data with sensors, store the data securely among themselves, and send them to a website for train operators to be supervised. We use a lot of different sensors to gather data. A distance sensor for proximity alerts, a current sensor for engine power, a RFID sensor for train station detection, 3 thermometers and a hygrometer for ambient conditions, as well as a gyroscope and an accelerometer for movement recognition. We wrote a driver for each sensor type in Python. Every Raspberry Pi is connected to different kinds of sensors. Because of that, we have to know if, for example, a distance or a RFID sensor are present and how they are accessed. The operator can specify all of that in a configuration file. Our Python program then reads the file, chooses the right drivers and starts up each sensor, which immediately begin to collect a bunch of data. After that, we establish a connection to our instance of the Themis framework. Its responsibility is to add the data packages to the blockchain in the right order. Without it, there would be a lot of chaos if all Pis try to add data at once. Once in a while, the accumulated sensor data is then joined into one large dictionary. Having wrapped it up and converted into the right format, we send it over through our connection to Themis for ordering. Themis is a framework provided by the IBR and is part of a research project with Deutsche Bahn. It implements practical Byzantine fault tolerance, in short, PBFT, in the programming language Rust. It accepts new sensor data from the Raspberry Pis. After that, all instances of Themis distributed over the different Pis will agree on an order for the new data. After the agreement process has finished, the new data is added to the blockchain. But what is PBFT exactly? A distributed network of nodes may fail to agree on adding data when trying to replicate that data over all nodes. If some nodes behave faulty or act maliciously, the network might be unable to reach a consensus. Failures like this are called Byzantine faults. PBFT is a replication algorithm that prevents that. It tolerates these Byzantine faults. This means if we have f malicious or faulty nodes in our system, it can still reach an agreement if we have at least 3 f plus 1 nodes in total. Internally, it uses cryptographic techniques to prevent spoofing and replay attacks, and also to detect corrupted messages. The blockchain is a way to store data from the sensors in a reliable way. In our project, this part is implemented in C++. As the name suggests, the blockchain is a chain of individual blocks. So let's take a closer look at what a block contains. Each block consists of the index of the block, the data received from the sensors, and the hash of the previous block. From these three parts, the hash of the block is calculated. The hash of a block acts like a fingerprint to prove a block's content, which makes the data nearly impossible to tamper with once a block is added to the blockchain. After Themis has agreed on an order, the hash of the new block is calculated, and the block can be appended. If someone now tries to change some data in the blockchain, it must also change data of the following blocks and their hashes. Otherwise, the blocks will become invalid. But as the blockchain is constantly growing and needs to get approved by other devices in the network as well, we can determine easily if someone tries to change data. The blockchain is regularly sent to the server. To validate the correctness of the data, the server validates the integrity of the blockchain. It does this by comparing the received hashes with the one it calculates itself. Inserted into the database, the information is now available for further use. The data will get processed as soon as the server receives it, to create a real-time dashboard. People with access rights can view information such as the temperature of each wagon, the velocity of the train, the current position, and more. Having a real-time dashboard has the benefit that even an untrained eye can spot unusual behavior and act. Because this process is nearly fail-proof, there is no need to consider the possibility of receiving wrong data.
So after we all roughly understand your project now, I'm burning to ask you some questions. How does it feel sitting in front of the cameras as a scientist, being asked about your team's project in front of thousands of people watching at home?
Well, of course, every accident is tragic, but it's really nice to see people appreciate your work.
But thanks to you, it wasn't as tragic as it could have been. Anyways, I'm asking myself, how does one decide to start working to improve an already established system?
That's an easy question. There are still accidents where they can't recover the information from the black box because the black box broke or sometimes even gets manipulated afterwards.
Oh my, that's rather shocking to hear. Why would anyone ever do this?
Well, I could imagine plenty of reasons, but what I know for sure is that people will do it again.
Well, that's how people are, I guess, but why does your system hinder the loss of information now better than before?
Traditional black box systems save the information at exactly one location. If your black box is gone, so is your data. We, on the other hand, have many logging devices, and we make sure that each one of them stores an exact copy of all the information. That way you always have a backup, and even if a few of them fail during a crash, others will continue to record.
Okay, that sounds plausible, but what about the tampering?
Because of the hashes. If someone tries to alter a small amount of information, the whole blockchain after that would be invalid. That means you cannot alter the data without anyone noticing, unless you reconstruct the whole blockchain after that point to have different data. But that's practically nearly impossible, because we would need to know how the blockchain works, and even then it would be hard to replicate on the fly.
That sounds certainly helpful. I think that... I'm sorry to interrupt, but we've just got a new message from our team. Apparently the police found security camera footage of a local shop of a man provoking that accident. What a spiteful thing to do, don't you think? Stop that man!
I just wanted to talk about my project. Everyone had some attention, right? Right?